Holy dog shit. Have you seen what's going on with mortgage rates? This is bad. This is really bad. So the other day, 30-year fixed rate mortgage rates got up to 6.28%. So is this the end of the world? Yes, it is. It is the end of the world. Now, having said that, mortgage rates have been higher in the past. My first mortgage in 1999 was 7.25%. Okay. Home prices were a lot lower back then. So now, yeah, 7.25%, I paid it just fine. The problem is that there is an inverse relationship between mortgage rates and housing prices. Like, you might be able to afford a $400,000 house at 5% interest rates, but you can't afford them at 6% interest rates, which means that prices are going to have to come down. That's what's going to happen. Now, with interest rates, it's not the absolute level of interest rates that count. It's the speed of the move. And the problem is that interest rates just went up 1% in a week. I just saw an amazing chart, and it was a chart of the average mortgage payment on a median priced home, assuming a 20% down payment, and it went from like $1,100 to $1,800 in 2 weeks. That is bad. Okay. And I can tell you what's going to happen. This is going to push the economy into a recession. So, housing market's going to come to a screeching halt. Okay. And it already has. Like, if you take a look at home builder stocks, they've been cratering for a while. So, the housing market is going to descend into chaos. Okay. Look at a chart of home buyers' intentions. It's in the toilet. And remember, the housing market is the primary engine of the economy. So if you are a real estate agent, if you are an appraiser, if you are an inspector, if you are associated with the housing industry in any capacity, life is going to become very difficult in the near future. Okay. So what we've had in the last year and a half, is very low inventories of houses, people bidding above the asking price, very hot housing market, and that's going to come to an end. Okay? Now, this is a big concern for the government. It's a big concern for the Biden administration. Now Biden has had problems with oil prices and gasoline prices, and he's now about to have a problem with mortgage rates. So what are they going to do about it? We'll talk about that in a second. Okay? What does this mean for you if you were in the market for a house? Yeah, I don't have any answers, right? Because like it suddenly got like 30% more expensive in a week. Okay. That's a problem. So unless you're a cash buyer, it's, what can I say? Bend over. Here it comes again. Bohica, as they used to say in the military. Okay. You're going to have to stay put in your current house, or you're going to have to buy a cheaper house. Those are your alternatives. I mean, we haven't really been faced with this in a while, So, and even somebody who is not financially sophisticated should be able to understand that when mortgage rates go up, housing prices go down. Okay, mortgage rates go up, housing prices go down. And the transmission mechanism on this is very slow. Like, you might expect housing prices to go down immediately. It's not going to happen. It's going to take about 6 months, okay? And one thing I would recommend is if you're thinking about buying a house, if you sort of have, ideations about doing it, then wait. Don't buy it now. Wait 6 months. Wait a year. Prices will be lower. How much lower are prices going to be? I would guess about 10%, maybe more, okay? Now, we're not going to have a repeat of what happened in 2008. It's a completely different situation. Okay, we're not going to have a housing crash. I don't think so. Okay. If you are shopping for a mortgage, you have some options, right? So I am in the process of closing on a construction loan. And I was working with a bank, and the bank gave me this whole menu of options. And they showed me rates for a 7-1 arm, a 7-1 arm with a point, a 10-1 arm, and a 10-1 arm with a point. I decided to get the 10-1 arm with no points. Okay. So the rate they showed me on this was 4.25%. And I was, it's at the time I was being picky about it. I'm like, well, that rate kind of sucks. But I actually locked in this rate the day before the payroll number 2 weeks ago, and that was the last day to get the mortgage at rate. I don't know what the rate is now. My guess is it's probably 5.25. I am the luckiest bastard in the face of the earth. And I say this all the time on the podcast, how lucky I am. It was funny because we were finishing up the process with the architect, and I said, okay, now it's time to call a bank. And I called the bank and I went through this process. And when they asked me if I wanted to lock the rates, and it's funny because I had this view at the time that interest rates were going to come down. And I said, you know what, screw it, I'll lock it in. And if rates come down, I can always refinance. Boy, am I glad I did that. So now ARMs are kind of a funny thing because they're adjustable rate mortgages. And at the end of the ARM, rates adjust up or down. They can't adjust down. I used to have a mortgage in a house in New Jersey. It was a 5-1 ARM, and at the end of 5 years, rates adjusted a lot lower. It adjusted to like a 1.25%, and my payment went way down. Okay. It's probably not going to happen this time, but I don't know. I have no ability to forecast interest rates 7 years out, so I don't know what's going to happen. But it is possible that you could get a 4% 7-1 ARM, and then 5 years from now, it could adjust to 6% or 8%. Well, that could happen. So one of the things I tell people about ARMs is that you shouldn't really get an ARM unless you have the ability to pay off the house in the time period. So if you can't pay off the house in 7 years, you shouldn't get a 7-year ARM. I got a 10-year ARM, which means that I believe I have the ability to pay off the house in 10 years. With my income and how much I make, I have the ability to do that, assuming nothing changes. So, but it is possible for your rate to go up. Now, a lot of these, they're called hybrid ARMs. Okay, a lot of these hybrid ARMs, they have what's called a 2-2-6 feature. And what that means is that rates can go up 2% every 2 years for a maximum of 6%. So if you got an ARM at 4%, it could conceivably go up to 10%. It can't go to infinity. There's a cap on how much it can go up. Mine can go up to 9.25. Okay. So all I'm saying is that you have options. And ARMs are going to become more popular because 30-year fixed rate mortgages have just gotten a lot more expensive. And like I said, it is possible for interest rates to go down in 5 years. Might happen. So if the math doesn't work on buying a house, then don't do it. Like, just stay in your current house or just rent. Because, I talk about all the time, there are the million small financial decisions you make on a daily basis. And then there are the handful of big decisions, the house, the car, the student loans. The house is one of these big decisions. If you fuck this up, it's going to ruin your life. Like, if you buy a house that you can't afford, it will ruin your life. Okay? And trust me, I'm thinking about this. I like to tell people, if you're walking into a real estate closing and your hands are not shaking when you're signing the contract, you have to understand the magnitude of the situation. This is one of the biggest financial decisions that you will make in your life. It probably will be the biggest financial decision. And, the funny thing about our housing market is that it's so institutionalized that it's very commonplace. Like there's thousands of houses that are bought and sold every day. So, there's a system for dealing with it. And it kind of, you kind of sleepwalk through it thinking that there's no risk, but there's a huge amount of risk. So if the math doesn't work, don't do it. The economy sucks. And when the economy sucks, we all suffer. We all suffer together. But it isn't that big of an imposition to stay in your current house. It's going to be okay. You just got to look. If you have a dream, if you have your dream house, you can put that dream off for a couple years. It's really fine. Maybe it'll work out for the best. I'm not really one of these people that says things happen for a reason, but a lot of times that absolutely is the case. I need a bigger house for all my cats. So anyway, I said earlier that there's a solution to the mortgage problem, but it's very ugly. And the Fed can do something called yield curve control, and they did this in the 40s. and Japan has been doing it for the last few years. What they can do is they can cap long-term interest rates, which basically means that, let's say they cap 10-year rates at 4%, which they're not going to do, but just, stupid example, let's walk through it. What they're doing is they're buying an unlimited amount of bonds at a 4% interest rate to maintain that interest rate. And that nobody is talking about this. I'm talking about it, but nobody else is talking about it. There is going to come a point in time, if mortgage rates go high enough, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10%, that the government's going to freak out and they're going to want to do something about it. And, the consequences to yield curve control, there's all kinds of capital markets consequences. Gold will go to the moon for sure. Inflation will go higher and never look back. But the political temptation to do it will be very high, especially if mortgage rates get up to about 8%. So, like I said, if you're a real estate agent, it's going to get tough. Okay, things are about to get very difficult. If you have anything to do with the real estate industry at all, I hope you save some money in the good times, because here come the bad times. Okay, I don't think mortgage rates go much higher in the short term, but I don't know. Anyway, in other news, I'm going to be traveling over the next 2 weeks. I'm going to New York City. I'm going to be working for Bloomberg as an intern. I'm going to be an intern. I'm a 48-year-old intern I'm getting this internship for my MFA program. So I'm really looking forward to it. Going to learn a lot, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So thanks for listening to the Be Smart podcast. I'm Jared Dillian. See you next time.